Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. Following his summit with U.S. President Joe Biden, South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol is today set to address U.S. Congress. And for that and more, let's connect to our Yoon Jung-min live in Washington, D.C. Jung-min?
Hi, Jiyoung. Yes, President Yoon's flurry of diplomacy will continue today, this time with U.S. lawmakers.
Yes, indeed. And the president is set to deliver a 30-minute speech in English, and it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. But for the time being, I'll hand things over to you and see you later in our newscast.
Right, thanks, Jiyoung. It's a little past 8 in the morning, April 27th, live from Washington, D.C. I'm Yoon Jung-min. President Yoon will be addressing the chamber at Capitol Hill in the coming hours. But first, let me introduce our panel this morning. I'm joined by Andrew Ya, Senior Fellow and the SK Korea Foundation Chair at the Brookings Institution's Center for East Asia Policy Studies, and Kim Do-yeon, Arirang's Presidential Office Correspondent. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. So, Andrew, first I want to ask you, how do you assess the Washington Declaration announced yesterday by the leaders of South Korea and the U.S.?
Right, so this is one of the key deliverables of the U.S.-ROK summit, and I think it shows that, first, the alliance is really in a tight, ironclad position, but there's been some concerns about extended deterrence on the side of the Koreans, and I think the United States really wanted to show that we are listening to South Korea and that we will give additional assurances. There's going to be a new nuclear consultative group, but there'll also be additional strategic assets like a nuclear submarine that will come. So I think that this is a strong sign, both symbolically and substantively, in strengthening the extended deterrence piece of the alliance relationship.
Right. And to you, Do-yeon, President Yoon will be addressing U.S. Congress in coming hours. So what would be the key words of his 30-minute-long English speech?
Well, the key word is going to be liberal democracy and freedom. I mean, what other better place are there in the rest of the world to speak about that? But one thing to note is that it's an English speech, right? So, and it's a long speech, and he's got all the spotlight, and no one's off the hook. Even Emmanuel Macron had to deliver English speech at not had to, but he chose to at the Congress. So I think that's a fun point to watch for viewers, because, you know, the message is going to be very similar, but the way it's delivered, and these are lawmakers that are voted as to represent their constituents. So it's a different atmosphere from just two leaders getting together for a summit. It's a little different appeal to U.S. for a Korean leader. So
was he practicing a lot, the speech?
I mean, I try to ask that to,
what does the presidential office say?
Yeah, I mean, those inside the presidential office, I asked them a lot, like, is he, practicing English? And they said, you know what, just wait and you'll see.
Oh, okay, we will see. We will talk more about that later, but first take a look at the day's headlines.